Thank you and warm greetings to all. Thanks to the Secretariat for inviting me to take part in this distinguished panel, giving me the opportunity to introduce you to the work of CITES relating to trees and timber. I hope to encourage further synergies amongst the various forest-related processes. The strength of CITES lies in the specificity of its mandate to ensure that the international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten the survival of the species. The conservation of forests and forest species is central to our common objectives of preserving forest ecosystems and the livelihoods that they sustain. CITES' main contribution to the long-term conservation and sustainable use of forests and their genetic resources comes through ensuring the effective implementation of the Convention for the more than 30,000 plant species listed in its appendices. The role of the CITES Secretariat is to assist parties in complying with the Convention. We seek to provide them with the best available scientific, legal, and technical advice to achieve this. This is done through the development of guidance, capacity building, and technical assistance. So, how does CITES contribute to sustainable forest management in a way that can benefit both conservation and forest-based livelihoods? The responsible trade of CITES-listed species, including forest species, can only be achieved when three fundamental principles are met: sustainability, legality, and traceability. To support compliance with these principles, parties have adopted resolutions on non-detriment findings and legal acquisition findings. These represent some of the most powerful elements of the CITES governance framework. Evidence of illegal or unsustainable trade can be addressed through the robust compliance processes under the Convention, and these processes have serious consequences, such as the trade suspension in all CITES species. CITES governance holds parties accountable and encourages them to continue to build their capacities to ensure effective implementation of the Convention and thus the sustainable use of forest resources. As you well know, the global forest sector powers some 80 million jobs worldwide, while wood and non-timber forest products also make up a fifth of incomes in rural households in developing economies with access to forest resources. Globally, as many as 350 million people live within or adjacent to forested areas. They often rely very closely on the ecosystem services provided by forests for their livelihoods and to cover their essential needs. And forests are also intimately tied to their social and cultural identities. This is particularly true for indigenous peoples and local communities. Unfortunately, the commercial overexploitation of valuable forest species would endanger entire ecosystems upon which these hundreds of millions of people rely. CITES thus plays a key role in achieving Global Forest Goal 2 by ensuring the conservation and sustainable use of forest species so that they can continue to benefit the communities who live closest to them. With regard to the Global Forest Goal on forest financing, after every conference of the parties agree on the forest portfolio that will be the focus of our collective work over the next 2 to 3 years. This portfolio is effectively a set of mandates directed to different CITES bodies with the purpose of strengthening the implementation of the Convention where priorities have been identified. At the last COP, 20 sets of forest-related decisions were agreed to improve sustainability, transparency, and updated scientific and forest management information and advice. However, most mandates under our forest portfolio require securing external funds. In our current cycle, ahead of the next COP in 2022, we have made good progress in undertaking CITES-driven science to improve the scientific information on valued species of rosewoods, frankincense, and artificial propagation of CITES-listed plants. This has been made possible thanks to the contributions of donors, but also the very important in-kind collaboration with members of the CPF such as FAO and ITTO. The CITES Secretariat has also developed projects focused on forest species. Examples of these are the CITES Tree Species Program and, most recently, an agreement between CITES and FAO to improve the sustainability and trade of rosewoods and other tree species in the lower Mekong region. Finally, returning to the importance of promoting synergies amongst the various forest processes, including their strategic frameworks, from the perspective of the Secretariat, Joining the CPF in 2018 has proven pivotal in ensuring CITES coherence within the United Nations and across member organizations. Collaboration with the CPF has allowed us to guide our parties in considering the existing governance frameworks when designing their mandates in preparation for each meeting of the Conference of the Parties. Keeping in mind the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the post-2020 Biodiversity Framework, the United Nations Strategic Plan for Forests, and the CITES Strategic Vision, the work of CITES should head in the following direction. We must aim to rationalize our work on forests, and the Secretariat will be proposing a new resolution on CITES and forests to our parties. The Secretariat should expand our collaboration with CPF members, particularly in matters relevant to CITES-driven science. We must look at strengthening a multi-sectoral approach that is reflective of the stakeholders through the supply chain of CITES-listed forest resources. And we must encourage our contracting parties to ensure that the forest-related activities in their program of work not only consider the CITES strategic vision, but also reflect the goals of the UN Strategic Plan for Forests and the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework targets. I look forward to the presentations of my colleagues on the panel and the ensuing discussion. Thank you.